Wing threw his arms wide, but performed a softer ending than it seemed like he was building up to. Everyone was satisfied. Wing remembered and would live the promise. He didn't include all the details in his song, but that was more the way he wrote. He seldom did. It was not what his heart was like. Wing was not always reliable this way. He said it was survival. Lester and Earl were sure it was a lack of faith. They were never argued with. Raven guided, Wing drove, Lester and Earl just walked, but in walking they pulled. Wing and Raven bullshitted the distance away, drinking and smoking. Lester and Earl didn't need words smoke or drink, but made themselves felt as it took their inclination to. The last bit of going was the roughest, as Dan's road was steep and broken up. I don't get it. It looks like the road has been bombed. I thought you said you didn't get it. The small dot in the center of the yard grew till it was clearly Dan. He didn't look old and tired. He looked like he'd been mugged. Wing glanced a confused look to Raven. I told you he looked beat. Right, but I thought tired is what you meant. I said he looked beat. Hey, Dan, is that a wrench in your hand? It was Dan's turn to hold up his hand and do that wrench-turning wrist twist back to the old greeting. But he did not move and he did not call back. When they got close, Dan turned and went to the edge of the yard just inside his Quonset hut. Wing halted the team near the entrance and followed him in. Raven came too. So you prayed? Why the hell did you do that? The voice was the voice of a man that only talked loudly in little tucked-away places where he had the edge. Dan's nervous glances were contagious, but the reason for their darting peaks remained a mystery. How did you know? Raven told me. Wing's face was a definition of astonishment. What? You think you're the only one who can talk to birds? Didn't really think about it. Didn't even think about me being able to do it, actually. But who gives a shit? What have you got to say for yourself, big mouth? Neither Raven or Dan knew who he was addressing. There was a pause, and then both tried to speak at once. They were cut off. Damn it! I'm talking to you, bird! You said he was our friend. He told me you called the great good a jerk. What the hell kind of a prayer is that? You said what, you fucking Raven? Am I wrong? No! Yes! Shit! Don't tell even my friends our business! Nothing! Do you understand? You mean you wouldn't have wanted me to mention Sheila and that boner Lester and Earl told me you carried around for a week? Raven innocently asked. Wing shot a glance at the team, a look that accused them of also being blabbermouths. They each dug the tip of one of their front hoofs into the ground and tried to hide their faces behind each other. Then, like lightning strikes, he grabbed Raven by the neck and pulled him close, harshly whispered, Correct! Do we understand each other? Thank you. Wing opened his hand and turned. Dan had been watching while waiting. So how's keeping the believing going? Been pretty busy, letting it sort itself out. Right now I'm more looking for a beer and a perimeter gyro. Just one thing. You'll be asked to do something. The great good is in motion. Doesn't like humanity walling itself in. If you just left it alone, you'd probably be all right. But now the great good will want you to help. Wait and see. The medicine man felt hollow as his slowly wobbling head took his eyes on a pointless tour of their surroundings. The dark, dusty room was even phonier than Wing's wagon. The dust was a hologram. The candles flamed static. Most of the junk piled around Dan was just props, but Dan was real. Got a gyro? And a beer. It's in the cooler. You know better than to ask. They used an opener built into the side of the box they got the beers out of to open the bottles on. The caps fall onto a very large pile of caps and cause a little cap slide. Wing poured beer into a shallow cup that sat on the machine and held it for Raven. They stepped from Dan's porch and started toward his horde of real wrecks. From now on, Wing, every meal, every act, every breath, every word, you're a part now. The horses champed and whinnied. Yeah, well, we left it that he'd get in touch. You know, I'll just take it one day at a time, was Wing's hurried and final word. But hey, I got one for the coal town up north that's just like this. Wing grabbed a stance in the dust and started singing out the lowest tone the horses could ever remember hearing from him. You don't need to prepare for that long road ahead. You don't need to get ready for every step of the way. All you need to do is to get ready for today. Ready for today. Ready for today. Ready for anything life might throw your way. All you need to do is to get ready for today. I only had one beer, Wing. That ain't enough for this. I got the harmonica down too, but I might forget it. Good. Dan pointed. This rig's got a full perimeter gyro. It's a small granny glider. The things they had. This would go too if I had the feel, but that's out. So take the gyro. Kinda forgetting to consult with your partner, ain't ya, mate? An extremely large man, whose parents might have been the unlikely coupling of a bull and a frog, stepped up from behind. I thought we agreed. Just 'cause I ain't always up your nose don't mean I ain't always up your ass. Nothing's supposed to leave the shop. We're going to have another one of those meetings. The man punched his fist into his palm. Raven looked up from his drink and wondered how he could have been so wrong about the place. You don't do nothing, cowboy. My pal and me gonna talk. With that, he grabbed Dan and started striking him with both sides of his open, swinging hand. Wing launched, pulled the man back. He could see him going for something under his coat and gave several more pushes that kept him off balance, stumbling backwards. The stiff fellow tripped and landed near Lester and Earl just as the weapon cleared his jacket. An evil smile was growing across his face. Lester stepped on his head just at the eyebrows. Stout, thick legs shot straight out and twitched. The sound of the skull bursting stayed in their ears as they watched the big man's smile twist into a permanent death grin. He was buried with it.